Guarda! Guarda! Hanno rubato il furgone. Guarda! Guarda! Cristo santo! Hanno fatto scoppiare in diretta. Guardali, 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 guardali. Guardali, guardali. Guardali. Guardali, porca puttana.
In the early part of Monday this week, what we saw was something that is not that far from what we often see in Hollywood action movies and crime thrillers. A highly organized, well-coordinated, paramilitary style heist was carried out on one of the major highways in the Puglia region. And what we saw was that this gang that numbered anywhere between 6 and 10 individuals ultimately stopped the van from moving forward, this armoured cash-in-transit vehicle from moving further down the highway by blocking its progress with 2 vehicles which they then set alight. But they then surrounded the vehicle with fully automatic weapons and what can be seen as Kalashnikovs in certain instances, which showed that they had come exceptionally well prepared and well planned for this operation. This armoured vehicle was believed to be carrying somewhere in the region of $2.5 million US. And this group no doubt had some information, perhaps maybe inside information, that led them to know not only how much this vehicle was potentially carrying, but also the route that it would be taking. And one of the things that many cash-in-transit companies are exceptionally careful about doing is giving any kind of advanced information, or what we would term as a pattern of life, to be able to predict where a vehicle might be at any given point. So there was either a covert surveillance that followed it from the depot where this vehicle had either picked up its cash or was about to deliver, obviously, to its recipient, and then ultimately coordinated it, but waited for the right time and moment. And criminals in these instances, having worked against many groups like this, will want to make sure that they can carry out their attack in such a location that not only can they do this successfully and heed that vehicle's progress by stopping it, but secondly, be able to effect an escape. What we also saw was, in addition to automatic weapons, we saw some fairly sophisticated explosives being used, and these very probably were military-grade explosives to try and breach the vehicle when the guards were unwilling to obviously open the vehicle up for them. How these explosives were deployed are very difficult to say, certainly going by the various footage that is proliferating across social media right now. So it could have either been deployed as a charge, which was affixed to the vehicle itself, or potentially it was launched at the vehicle using something like a rocket-propelled grenade. But what we did see was significant damage to this vehicle by this explosive. So it was not a sophisticated shaped charge, which you might use to breach, for example, a door. This was a significant amount of explosive that was deployed to try and open up the secure area of this armored vehicle. What we understand is that the vehicle was fitted with a security foam, which would activate in the moment either the vehicle was breached or would be triggered by one of the occupants of the vehicle in the event of a potential breach. And this would have prevented the thieves from actually acquiring the cash or getting the cash bags or cases to be able to remove. And from what we understand, none of the money was actually taken by the perpetrators. But the perpetrators did delay the Carabinieri, the official Italian police, from responding, and had certainly tried to even mimic being the Carabinieri by not only wearing Carabinieri uniforms and overalls, but also having blue lights on their vehicles as well. Of the gang that escaped, 2 actually were apprehended, and it's believed that they are all members of a renowned and reputable and formidable mafia group that has been terrorizing the Foggia area of Puglia. The Foggia Società, or the Società Foggia, are known as one of the 5 major mafia groups in Italy. They are so formidable that they are involved in virtually every perceived crime or criminality that is usually attributed to organized crime. And this includes money laundering, trafficking, drugs, illegal weapons, extortion, and it can even be statistically attributed that there is a murder by them once every 2 weeks. There is an extortion every 2 days and a robbery every day that's perpetrated by this particular group. Now, why they've been quite resistant to being arrested is the fact that they also intimidate members of the general public around them, and that they have taken retribution on members of the public who have either assisted or aided the police in apprehending some of those gang members. This is otherwise known as an omerta, which is commonly used by mafia groups, which is a code of silence, so to speak. Now, why it leads to the Società Foggia as the principal group perhaps behind this heist is because they're renowned for certainly every strand of organized crime you can imagine, from people trafficking to narcotics to illegal weapons to extortion, kidnapping, and everything else. And they have held certainly the Foggia region of Puglia as certainly an area that they have almost indoctrinated an omerta being a fear on members of the general public for reporting on them or assisting or aiding the police authorities in trying to apprehend various members. What we saw in this particular heist is not that different to what one might see in major Hollywood action movies recreating the same. And having advised myself on the recent Den of Thieves Pantera, where again a professional former military group of criminals were looking to steal diamonds, in this instance, obviously this was an armoured vehicle. And not only by the weaponry that these individuals were carrying, but also their tactics of not only stopping the vehicle, surrounding it, and then breaching this armoured vehicle to get to the cash, which ultimately they were unsuccessful in obtaining. There are various different reports that are circulating saying they got away with 2.3 million, but the authorities themselves are stating that they got away with nothing, and an anti-robbery foam, which is commonly installed within these types of trucks, deployed, preventing them from doing so.